This is the Mobile Tech Podcast, brought to you by worldpodcasts.com. Now here's your host, Tech Girl, Miriam Joie.
Brought to you by MediaTek. Hi, and welcome to the Mobile Tech Podcast. I'm your host, Miriam Joie, and today is November 16th, 2023. I'm here at the MediaTek Summit.
Welcome.
Wonderful. With Finbar Monian. Hi, Finbar.
Hi, Miriam. Good to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to be here as well. So, it's interesting because you announced the chip, the Dimensity 9300, about a week ago.
Yep.
We talked about it on the podcast briefly last week, but I want to dive into some of the aspects of that and more generally dive in some of the aspects that the trends the industry is seeing. AI is a big deal, Gen AI in particular, on device, right? And so I'm kind of curious, I have this kind of feeling because I cover, not just phones, I cover wearables and I cover, like EVs and car tech. I get this feel that everybody wants to get in on AI right now. And the only way to do that is some heavy lifting, right? So my question to you is, beyond talking about the 9300, is where do you think the industry is going to go? Because with that kind of horsepower and pretty much everything, how do we make that work? How different do the chips get between devices? I mean, right now they're pretty broad range, right? You got like very small, like IoT level, Cortex M3, all the way to, heavy lifting, like Apple M type silicon, right? On the ARM world. And so I'm kind of curious, as a leader in this, where you see things going.
Sure.
And then, 9300 is a big deal.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I mean, AI has been a trend for a long time, but I think Gen AI is taking it to a whole new level, right? Because the way we define it, and it's a simplistic definition, but I think it's the best definition is, the traditional AI was about sort of making something you had better, enhancing a picture, enhancing audio. Now we're talking about creating whole new content, with these generative AI techniques. So it's a completely new world. But you're right, it requires, quite significant capabilities on the device, on the silicon, not just on our side, right, with AI acceleration, all the other stuff that you need to do, but also more memory, so there's a need for a lot more memory on device. Right?
And a lot of it, is going to be using very similar like AI models too, which are pretty heavy right now. And I'm sure they'll improve, but at the same time, chips are going to improve anyway. So it's kind of
and we're with the Dimensity 9300, like we talked about, we're already running 7 and 13 billion parameter models.
Exactly.
And those are practical and we'll see real application very, very soon. We've also demonstrated the ability to go as far as 33 billion parameters. That requires more memory. It's going to run slower.
More energy too.
More energy.
So on a mobile device, that's an issue.
It maybe just is showing us where the future is going. But these models will get more optimized. They'll get more specific. But I think the scale of the technology problem in terms of what we have to compute isn't going to get that much simpler. In fact, it's probably going to get more complicated, as we know.
So what struck me about that 9300, I mean, last year's 9200 plus, or this year's, I should say, is quite a powerhouse. I've just recently been reviewing the Xiaomi 13T Pro,
great device,
which is a 9200 plus device. And
beautiful device.
It's fantastic, right? So my thoughts are 9300, what we're seeing is, at least on paper, benchmark-wise, you're definitely ahead of the competition, which is big news. But more importantly for me, I think that's another trend I'm seeing beyond AI that seems to be happening in car chips and also in heavier chips that are used in laptops and PCs, is this everybody's going big and prime, right? Leaving the little behind. We're leaving these efficiency cores behind. And so my question to you was, and this is kind of something I've been kind of thinking might be the answer, and I want to see if I'm right. Is it that the more powerful cores are able to run so efficiently today that we don't really have to concern ourselves as much as scaling them down to efficiency cores, for one thing, but also because now we can kind of burst them on tasks, right? And that burst takes a lot of energy, but very, very briefly. And in that brief time, if you have the right scheduling of your tasks, you can really get a lot done. And it just ends up being just as efficient. You just fire up the chip when you need it, but very, very short, right?
That's exactly it. You hit the nail on the head. I think it's really the confluence of 3 different trends or 3 different things coming together. One, Android and the apps are getting heavier.
Right.
On average, right? So, what we would consider light apps in the past are not as light as they used to be, right? Secondly, I think the big cores are really performing very well in terms of a power efficiency curve when we looked at the capability of them, even relative to the little cores. And then three, we can do much tighter, turn on, like burst it on, do it quickly. You get a little bit maybe of a higher peak power for a shorter period of time, and then you go down to low power.
You pulse width modulating the tasks,
very much so.
Right?
And even in the boom, 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 boom. Even in the launch event in China, we had a graph that showed exactly that, the little pulses, and it's the area of that matters,
right?
Not the peak.
And we're seeing that with the competition as well. So I think everybody's kind of converging there. So obviously, the cars that are now needing more and more compute power and that AI compute power, they're going to probably follow suit very soon if they're not already. Yep. And then, our smartwatches are probably next, right? And then who knows? What else do you think?
So at the event today, our CEO, Rick, talked about this trend of, high performance computing systems.
Right.
And he talked about the need for heterogeneous computing. So CPUs, GPUs,
right.
DSPs.
Everything specialized.
Everything specialized, right? And so those architectures, as we see with chips like the 9300, with what we're going to see in automotive, with what we're going to see in computing, that trend is continuing, right?
Right.
So for sure, it's going to impact mobile. I think like all of these things, we're seeing some of this stuff first in the flagship. These ideas will come down to the premium tier. These ideas will come down to the mid-tier in time. Certainly I think we see the computing industry also going through its own transformation with ARM-based computing. Obviously, we play in Chromebooks and tablets, and that's important.
I always make this comment, but Intel, please make ARM chips. It'll be more interesting for everybody, okay?
Yeah. And then as you said, like automotive, the car is going through like this massive transformation.
It's insane. I'm well aware of it, but I'm writing more and more about trying to educate the public, saying like there's this tsunami coming our way.
And the amount of
software and computing and integration of ecosystems.
Screens and cameras and multimedia. It's going to, like, as Rick said, it's a 130, 150-year-old industry going through this kind of a transformation. It is very exciting. And then I think longer term, inevitably, a lot of what we see in this technology, whether it's computer vision, AI, the computing, is going to come into industrial, into IoT, into lots of these other things, impact smart cities, smart factories, smart homes, and that just takes time.
And I wouldn't be surprised also if we start seeing that on the servers because, at scale, they consume so much energy. So, ARM has really improved that.
Yep.
But now having this kind of ability to pulse these larger cores makes it even more efficient.
Yep.
Some cloud stuff is heavily sustainable, but some of it is just, we just need something right now. And then it just works really well.
Probably true.
So I think this is the trends I'm seeing. And I feel it's very exciting, actually. I think that, every time you guys come out with a new chip, some new fun, exciting stuff comes out. But I feel like when I see the whole industry kind of moving in one direction like this, I'm like, oh yeah, we're up to something. Yeah. And this is really kind of cool.
And Rick talked about it today. Like, Rick, obviously a veteran of the semiconductor industry, our CEO. He's been at TSMC, MediaTek for a number of years now.
I know, it's incredible, right?
But he sort of described this sort of feeling he has about AI and particularly generative AI as sort of the same thing when he heard first about the World Wide Web, the .com era. It's something quite unique and quite different. And, he's right, I think, in that I don't think any of us can really predict where this is going to go. We would be naive if we said we knew exactly how it's going to map out. But what we are putting out into the world is this amazing capability. Of course, it's developing in the cloud and has been for a while, but now we see it really coming to fruition in the devices with mobile computing and other kind of areas. And I think the next year or two, are going to be very interesting as people experiment and test and try different use cases and different applications. And, we will see what sticks,
Absolutely. And, besides, the kind of trends and universality of the big core kind of approach to computing and the dedicated AI hardware that really needs to heavy lift now.
Yep.
I mean, before it was, oh, that's cute,
Yeah.
But now it's like, oh, we really need you to get rolling, right? But I think beyond that, I'm still excited about little things like, the OIS core, right? The optimized OIS, optical image stabilization thing you have. It's just to make the OIS, close that loop a little more, right?
Exactly.
Have that in the ISP, I think is a completely new thing we haven't seen before. I think is really exciting.
And it kind of makes sense, right?
Makes perfect sense.
When you think about it, right?
But I mean, we've had that driven by the sensors before, but the path, the feedback loop was too long, right? Basically.
Yeah. So,
and we're getting to the point now where we can do it much faster. The actuators are responding faster too, right?
And maybe for your world, because I know you care so much about sound and audio quality, right? The fact that we're integrating the 3 HD audio mics onto the recording. So for background noise, if we were doing this on the beach with the background noise now, you might be able to edit it out.
You bring that up, but it's been a big deal this year for me. The big change with editing for me and my team has been, AI audio tools. We've been able to record in conditions that were much more unfavorable in the past, and now we can use AI tools to kind of get something that's bad to be usable. And before it was, usable to be good, right?
Now it's actually
it's driven by AI, and it's very much a different kind of AI than the Gen AI.
Yeah. But imagine if we can make the even input quality better at the start, and then you apply the tools as well. 100%. Then
I mean, in terms of audio, MEMS microphones have just changed the game, and they're everywhere now. And the signal to noise on some of them has gotten so good that, I'm recording backup audio on an iPhone right now, and I can almost guarantee you that audio is going to be almost as good as the audio from my dedicated mic. That's where we're gotten to. It's incredible.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So those of you out there who don't want to start a podcast because you're worried you don't have the right equipment, pull out your phone and hit record.
Good to know.
And then use some AI tools. But so I'm excited about Dimensity 9300. I know you've kind of talked about this a little bit before, but give us an idea of Vivo launched the X100 series today. I mean, earlier this week, but you had it on stage. It's the 100, the 100 Pro, I believe.
Correct, yeah.
Both with the 9300.
Yep.
So those are the first. I know they're not coming to the West. At least they're coming to global markets, but not the US here. Do you think we're eventually going to see some of these chips adopted by some of the big players, like maybe OnePlus? Because I think, obviously, I don't see Samsung doing it anytime soon. Obviously not Apple. Probably not Google, because unless they realize one day that Tensor is not so great. Do you see something like that happening, or do you think it's another year or two away?
I think what we'll see, like what we've seen in the past, is certainly China market is going to be very important for 9300. Vivo and other OEMs will launch.
Xiaomi.
We're very excited that Vivo was out the door so quickly with this device.
They've been doing this for a while now.
Yeah, and but I think we're now on the third generation. We've got a certain momentum built up. There's a certain credibility, there's a certain experience that people have with our Dimensity 9000 series. So I think it's inevitable that would happen. But certainly, I think the initial markets for us will be, the China market, plus of course the overseas markets that those OEMs like Vivo bring those phones to, whether it's Southeast Asia, India, Western Europe, whatever. So we'll certainly see some of that. I think your question is always more specific to the US market, and I know,
and I realize you have to deal with the carriers, so it's a whole,
and it's a kind of a different ecosystem, exactly. But it certainly would be nice to see more high-end phones coming. It's just I don't see it in the near term.
Yeah, unfortunately. But I do have a Moto in my pocket right now, the Moto X 2023 with a Dimensity 7050 or 7080, I can't remember which, and it's fine. So I mean, not that it wouldn't be, but I'm just saying it's nice to see that Moto is coming up with like a $599 higher tier device, and it's like, okay, we're giving you, and the same way as they introduced the first millimeter wave 5G phone last year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So it's still happening. For the audience, in case you haven't been paying attention, it's just I have dreams of like a OnePlus 12 or something, coming to the US with a
we can dream. Let's dream together.
So well, listen, is there anything else at the summit that you think is super significant that my audience should know? 9300 is obviously the bread and butter for us because of mobile, but
well, I think tomorrow morning, you particularly given your interest and background, you're going to enjoy the discussion we have on automotive.
Of course.
So we've brought our partner NVIDIA. They'll be on stage with us. They'll be talking about how AI is going to shape the future of the automotive industry inside and outside the car. So I'm sure you're going to geek out like hell on that. We've got some connectivity news.
Okay.
We'll be talking about RedCap tomorrow. Okay. We'll be talking about some new Wi-Fi solutions on the Wi-Fi 7 portfolio tomorrow. So there's a bit more news there. And then I think we're going to finish the day tomorrow with a little bit more of a business update from some of the regions.
Fantastic.
Not just the Americas and Europe, which we've talked about before, but also we're bringing in one of our leaders from India to talk about the India market.
Oh, that's kind of an exciting market. I love it.
And a very dynamic and very fast-moving market in many areas right now. So I think that's going to be an interesting session tomorrow as well.
Fantastic. Well, we'll get someone from MediaTek to come and talk about some of that in a week or 2 or 3 when, it's all, the dust is all settled.
Absolutely.
Because I'd love to hear more about it.
That would be good.
Fantastic.
Thank you, Miriam.
Finbar, pleasure as always.
Always
Thank
a
you so
pleasure.
much for being on the show.
You're welcome.
We'll have you on again soon.
Of course. Thank you.
And we're back with a whole bunch of folks at the MediaTek Summit in Dana Point, California. So we were going to do this by the pool, but then the pool was too cold.
Yeah.
We were going to do this outside, but because we have a fireplace, and I'm pointing at it right now, but it's really hot and sunny outside, so we can't win.
No.
This is the win.
Yeah.
What we're
So
doing
this
right
is
now.
it. This is it.
Yeah.
So folks, there's 3 big things that happened this week that I want to cover on this podcast, and one of this is going to take us most of the podcast. I think it's going to be Humane.
Sure.
Okay.
Then we have, I'm wearing my tag still. Then we have the whole nothing Apple iMessage RCS. I don't want to call it a fiasco, but it kind of is, and not due to somebody, any company specifically, just overall, right? And then what's the last thing? Vivo X100. We don't know too much.
No.
I haven't even looked it up yet,
Nearby.
but I have a phone.
Have any of us?
I have a phone.
There's a new phone.
Yes. So let's start with Humane. Who has thoughts?
I have many thoughts.
Pretty much everybody has thought. Yeah, that's
That's
right.
it. Yeah.
So Shannon hasn't even. This is your first introduction.
I've been at this event drinking booze all week.
I understand. No, I wasn't.
Let's hear.
I
But
wasn't
this is
questioning.
last week's news, which is really
I was
crazy
in
because
Japan. Okay.
there you go. But like Japan
And
is better
expenses.
than the news of this humane tech.
I
Because like
agree.
in our group chat, this dropped and people were asking like, does anyone have a contact? Does like the concept of what they're trying to do is large. It should be a big splashy launch, and yet nobody in the tech space has seemed to be able to communicate with this company who is saying that they are going to disrupt the tech space,
Yeah.
and yet they don't want to talk to any of us.
True.
So for those who don't know, it's a little computer that's running a SoC that's connected to the cloud all the time, has built-in 5G.
Talk about how little it is, Nick. It is the size of like a matchbook. You wear it.
It's-
You wear it. It's a wearable.
It's very small.
It is, I mean, I would say it's 1/3 of your phone.
It's less than that. It's very small.
Yeah.
It looks like a match.
It's maybe
box.
two, 3 inches
Small.
high.
Yes.
But the idea is you have this magnetic clip that it clips onto your clothes and you wear it on the outside of your clothes. So if you have a jacket, you magnetically connect it to your jacket or a shirt. But the funny thing is, in all of the demos that they were showing, it is so heavy that it pulls down on the clothes that you are
Is
wearing.
it really?
Yeah.
It's about as heavy
So
as
if you're wearing a
tennis ball is the
button-up
tag.
shirt,
Yeah.
it's this weight of a tennis ball. So imagine putting a tennis ball into the front pocket of your shirt, and it just pulls down on your shirt.
Shannon, maybe you can go with me on this. I've been wearing Star Trek communicators for 20 years.
Yes.
Some of them are heavy. I don't have a problem with it.
Same. Yeah.
I got
my
a little
Bluetooth
shirt.
one is kind of heavy.
Right? See,
But
that's what
are
I'm
they
talking
tennis ball heavy?
No, they're not. Well, actually, yeah, the metal ones are.
Yeah.
But that's fine. You get over
ones
it,
are.
especially if you're.
But a lot of those
wearing a
come
heavy
with
jacket.
actual pins, like pin backs. so
Right.
you can
This is a
pin it
magnetic
in.
one.
But if
Yeah.
it's magnetic, yeah, you do have that pulling sensation.
Yeah.
I think
Which does not look great on women's outfits when you're wearing
Yeah.
that
Or
costume.
men's outfits, like any like.
I think
I
the
understand.
weight of the device is probably the least of Humane's concerns. Though.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So let's actually,
So they position this device in a lot of different ways. Of it's not a replacement for your smartphone, but you don't need a smartphone anymore.
And you still have to pay for a cellular line
Right.
to use it.
Yeah, exactly.
that's
So,
actually-
so it is a
Oh,
phone,
okay.
It is a
but
phone.
it's not a phone.
but speaking of the battery setup, so there's a tiny battery in the device that will last like an hour or two or something minimal. And then I think it's
Oh,
actually
yeah.
cool that the magnetic part that clips to it in the back is a wireless inductive charger with a
Battery.
bigger battery.
Yeah.
So you can continuously
Oh, I
swap
see.
batteries.
Yeah.
And they call it a perpetual battery system.
It's
or
perpetual
perpetual power
power
system.
That's
And
BS.
like, so it's a hot swappable battery.
But
Yeah.
no, but it is clever. Like, let's not like there's such. I think the thing that I would like to talk about eventually is how everybody's. Can we curse? I forget. How everybody's just going to dump on the thing.
Yes.
And I'm
You cannot
tired.
edit it.
Got it. I'm tired of it. So I don't like that. So the perpetual power system, whatever. You can make fun of any kind of marketing,
Yeah.
whatever. I want to give it the credit that it's due because you're right. It's clever to have the magnetic backing double as a wireless battery pack. Then like, oh wow, I'm running low on power. When you
Let me
buy
swap
it,
a
you
new
get
one.
two
Yep.
wireless backs, so you can swap in a battery really quickly, like used to be able to do on smartphones. That's really fun. The predominant method of interface is not a screen because there's no screen on it, so it's voice. Predominantly. The one that they want you to use most of the time if you want to talk to it It is an AI-powered assistant. They're using a variety of AI models to answer questions like, who's texted me and what's on my calendar, and like some of.
I mean, I like the concept, but I feel like what they've done wrong so far is everything else. Like the marketing, the messaging, the positioning. I think that, there are some good elements in there. There's apparently as good as you can make an ultra wide camera system with a Snapdragon chipset of some kind that runs the show. Obviously, it has some sort of like laser projector on there that projects stuff on your hands.
So you hold up your left hand and then it projects an interface on it. Then you can manipulate that interface.
It's
by moving your hand.
monochrome, right?
Yes.
That's kind of interesting.
It's monochrome. Like there's a lot of interesting concepts in there. But I think, because it was hyped for so long with such like very controlled leaked, I really honestly think, and, sorry, Sam Sheffer, if you're listening, because we work together at Engadget, like I feel like somebody needs to check this company on their messaging, their marketing, and their PR. It's just not, like, it just doesn't make sense. And the other thing is, as much as I understand that, I can see their point of view of like, we need to, it kind of needs to be a clean break. You really need to immerse yourself fully in this experience and have that cellular connectivity and stuff. That's not the reality we live in. We all have these connected devices that already work for us. And who's going to switch to this? Even the person who's the least tech savvy and is probably going to be using an iPhone, have a relatively decent experience on their iPhone already. Why would they switch to this thing? And the fact that you have to pay $24 a month in addition to $6.99 for the device. I think the price of the device is okay, but $24 a month for connectivity that includes, voice calls and data, includes access to very nebulous, pardon the pun, AI cloud, support. Like you're basically subscribing to various AIs in the cloud through that service as well.
Through their backend platform.
And it's they're billing it as a virtual network operator, and there's no roaming. The roaming costs more. Like what's the point of that? The kind of audience that would spend the money on this and experiment with this wants to travel the world and has the kind of money to travel the world.
I don't know. I think that's another I think that's like it hanging on your shirt weird. That's a tiny little thing. I think the principal problem is what you brought up initially, is that the messaging, part of the messaging is, in fact, this is more than the phone. This is beyond the phone. This is post-phone. But at the same time, because of the inherent limitations of it, and because people are very happy with their phones, they had to walk that back in the actual messaging and the actual interviews and be like, a reporter asked them, I forgot whether it was New York Times or whatever, it was like, so do you personally not use your phone anymore? And they're like, no, I use my phone differently, but I still use my phone. So this product, like this version 1,
then why have
not
a
going to
separate
work.
Connectivity for it?
Because they didn't want to make a little puck that connects to your phone, because in my opinion, it sounds too unambitious. This is a company full of people who are
100%.
very ambitious. They want to change the world. They want to put a hole in the world. And you can't do that by saying like, hey, we released a Bluetooth dongle for your iPhone.
But like from a concept standpoint of what the gadget actually is and what they are trying to achieve, kudos to that, right? The idea, the concept is really good.
Yeah.
This is a Gen 1 device in essentially a brand new category. We've seen similar types of devices that have done similar types of things, but the fact that they're relying on AI and a whole different type of compute method here, I really applaud them, but it is a first generation device, and these things that we're talking about are first generation device issues that are always going to come up. But we're never going to get a product that solves every one of these issues, just like the original iPhone came out and all the issues with the very first iPhone, that like you don't have apps, like this does not have apps. They have back end.
Well, that's a big selling point in their book. Right?
But if you want to listen to music,
you have to have a Spotify subscription.
Tidal.
Oh, Tidal. Tidal. Oh my God.
I believe it's a premium Tidal subscription.
Okay.
So like you can't even do your own music or anything like that. Like the whole concept is completely different than what we're typically used to. Where we are controlling.
Is this thing
the question?
$6.99?
Yeah, $6.99 or $7.99 depending on the colorway.
What?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's a lot.
But
so the question
it
is,
should be $500. Like $6.99 is a lot of money.
I guess.
Like
Guarantee you they're losing money at $7.99.
Yeah,
probably.
Go ahead.
the question is, like, in 5 years, we'll have been iterating on the smartphone for 20 years. Is the 5th generation of this device, if that ever comes to fruition, going to be enough to, like, convince people to switch from their smartphone?
I don't think it's enough, but I think the 5th generation device, I think where foldables are right now, we're pretty much on Gen 5 of foldables,
We're
right?
finally
Yes.
there.
I just did my review of the OnePlus Open, and I called it the best foldable ever. And it's the device that I would actually use now as a foldable. Up until then, every time I used the foldable, I was like, I'm done with it.
Yeah.
But that's a device I can finally use, and we're at Gen 5.
Yeah.
I don't know if with that we get there in 5 generations. It could proceed a lot quicker. It could be slower. I don't know. It's completely different than what we know as a smartphone, right?
Yeah.
Michael will be proud of me. The OnePlus Open is the first folding phone that I've used that is a book-style folding phone that made me want to use a book-style folding phone. Until now,
welcome to the
I
club.
was not into it.
Hell yeah.
I was into the flip phones, but this was it. This was it. Finally, I got something that I wanted.
100% agree. Yeah. But like it takes
But it took 5 generations to get there,
Yeah.
I get kind of creeped out every time I hear about like some kind of new product that's using some kind of like brand new cloud platform for AI or whatever.
It is
So I
creepy.
just looked up their
But it's
privacy
the Silicon
pol-
Valley, darling. It's very creepy.
I just
By
looked up
default.
their privacy policy.
Oh boy.
So apparently if you use it for photo, video, audio, and communications information, they collect all of that, including metadata.
Okay.
Photos, videos, audio
Yeah,
recordings.
you
or
are ceding to them
e.g.
all
text messages.
Mm-hmm.
They
Oh,
collect
boy.
all of it, including
sense.
associate.
But I mean, how is that much
that's
different
just
from
worse.
using an Android phone? Like, I feel like I have to agree to that to use anything on a.
Well,
on
at least my
most
stuff is
Android phone.
encrypted,
Yeah.
not to iPhones.
Mhm.
We'll get to that.
We're going to talk
We'll get
about
to
that
that.
next.
Right. I mean, yeah, no. I mean, I think that there's a lot of questions that are just really basic and I was going to say primitive, but it's just principle. Like, you know, there's no authentication mechanism on device that we can see. There's no fingerprint scanner or like palm reader or something.
So if I take it
if
off your
somebody
shirt,
rips it off your shirt, can they
access
go
your
ahead and
data.
just start using
So
it?
here's what actually interesting about that. You set up everything for your like account, your persona, your whatever
On your
in
online-
the cloud.
Yes.
And then you scan a barcode with the device and it enables, it's kind of basically like kind of Chromebooks, you know? You lose, remember that demo on stage where they literally smashed a Chromebook with a hammer?
Pick
And
up
in the
another
middle
one.
of a sentence and they picked up another one, they logged in. And it was
Yeah.
right where the cursor was blinking with the text they just typed because it was a Google Doc.
Magic
And I'm
the cloud.
like, and people were blown away. And I'm like, I think this device is exactly like that. So, but that doesn't address your concern, which was how does it authenticate?
Yeah, and I think that
We don't know. And how does it authenticate? Does that have a camera?
You're our
Is it
security
open
expert.
source?
Come on.
Like, no.
what was the?
Are there any audits?
Yeah, who
I
knows?
see nothing.
There was a phone, I believe it was the LG G8, and I think a couple devices tried this that had a built-in piece of hardware that would read the vein pattern in your
Oh,
phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they did that for authentication, if I'm recalling correctly.
It was very, very poor.
It was poor, but they could conceivably do this. I could see a V2 or V3 of Humane being like, "Cool, hold your palm up. Are you the person I know?" So I mean,
Or
I think
even just flip it around for facial recognition, something like that.
I would
like,
not
and-
buy that. Hell
But
no.
like-
no. But I know what you're
No,
saying.
but like,
So there
on
are several ways to
device,
achieve
yeah.
it. But you know, this is the kind of Apple-esque, because we didn't mention that the two
They're
folks in charge of this thing are
And I
veterans
think
of
they're
that.
in a relationship too. One
They
of
are.
them looks like Lisa Kudrow of Friends.
bit,
You know what?
yeah.
Phoebe, sorry.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
character Lisa Kudrow played. And it's a bit weird. We want to talk about that video in a minute.
I just got that joke that you dropped in the group chat.
Yeah,
You're
there you
like,
go,
I don't think
right?
I'm going to be trusting Phoebe's pin.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Anyway,
Phoebe spin. Not for me.
But so, I mean, we have a lot of questions, but the problem is we can't answer them because no one can use this
Because
device.
they don't want us tech people to have access to it.
Did anybody order it?
I ordered it.
You ordered
Did
it.
you?
Yeah.
Andrew,
What's the shipping on that? Like,
They say early 2024.
Okay,
There's no
cool.
target window.
Andrew ordered it as well. I think a few other folks.
Andrew Edwards, yeah.
Edwards.
Yeah, there was a couple people that did say that they ordered it. I mean, it is, from a technology standpoint, it is a very appealing
It's
device,
very interesting.
right?
Yeah.
Whether or not it's actually usable in the real world, that's a whole other question. Whether or not there's security concerns, whether or not you should be paying an extra $24 a month just to use this device when I already have a phone. Like, there's 100 questions to be answered. But from a tech standpoint, incredibly compelling. Is
Yeah.
this the next generation of where we are going? I doubt this is the product, but we will get there eventually.
I've heard interesting speculation on that from a lot of smart folks kind of repeating each other, saying like, this is a bummer because these are some really great ideas and it's a shame for them because what's going to happen is a big player is going to come in and just essentially steal that notion, do it better or do it faster and just kind of annihilate them. Like, who was it you who said like they're going to be the Pebble?
No, it wasn't me. But what I'm thinking is going to be the Google Glass. Like, I think they're going to piss people off because it's so, the mindset, the messaging, the whole approach is so Silicon Valley douchey that people are going to see the product and immediately identify you're a dick.
So I don't think you're wrong, but I think from a messaging standpoint, you're right. But people overlook the fact that they spent so much time in that weird launch video being like, listen, it's not always on.
Launch video.
It's not listening for a wake word. It doesn't have the camera on. You have to touch this thing to interact with it, which is in fact one of the things that people are complaining about from a usability standpoint. It's like, what if I have my hands full? I can't tap it. But that is like, they've put a privacy firewall in place that's like, unless you touch the thing, it's not doing anything. It's just sitting on your chest. So they're going to need to, and there's a little, what do they call it? A privacy light? There's a light on it to tell people when it's listening or watching. So it's like, I don't know what more you want them to do.
Like from a technology standpoint, what they're actually doing, both of us right now are wearing these Meta glasses, right? Yeah. They have a camera in them. They have a chipset in them that can do voice recognition. We can listen to music, or we can do phone calls. The only difference is it's not doing real-time compute, right? And we don't have a display. Is the product that they're talking about this thing that we're wearing on our chest, or is it an evolution of these glasses where we get a true AR display? Like the industry's been talking about for years now, like AR is the future. Like, is this just another iteration of what that AR environment or future is? Like, where do you see that coming into play? Like,
in the same way as Google Glass, I don't think there was a valid reason for people to be pissed off. I think this is going to be the same thing. Like, you can put all the privacy lights. See, this works
because Google Glass launched without a notification light. You really could have been creepily recording anybody. That's why most people were pissed off.
That is true.
Right?
But my point is, I still think people are going to perceive it as that. They're going to be like this, what you're wearing, people can totally be on board with it. Because, first of all, it really looks like glasses for the first time ever. Like
the Ray-Bans, the Meta Ray-Bans.
Yeah. And, they got the big light on it, but also it can only record for a minute.
Yeah.
And I don't know. There you go. Hi.
But you're right. And I think this is something that that's also just kind of worth talking about, or mentioning. It's like, this is not the world Google Glass launched into. Google Glass launched into a world that still wanted to be enthusiastic and optimistic about tech. And now we are jaded and openly hostile.
Right? Just speak for yourself.
No, but it's not. And I'm not talking about the media. I'm talking about normal people. Just like, what are those Silicon Valley Fs doing?
And that's what I'm worried about. Like, I don't think, because it's a different context, but now we've got maybe all the security features built in for like maybe there is a good, properly private or whatever. Maybe there's a good light, like you said, there is one, I know. Yeah. But like, maybe still people are going to be like, oh, you're one of those people. Definitely. You know what I'm saying? And then the other thing is the video really kind of reinforced that. Like, it was so tone deaf, really weird, right?
It was one of the weirdest launch videos I've ever seen.
Christian, they didn't smile. I was just watching it on.
They were so unhappy.
No,
they're jaded about their own
stares, talking about a product,
mad.
and like they're not excited about the product that they're launching. Like,
but then they say phrases like revolutionary, life-changing,
perpetual power system.
The trouble is that like it's so easy to make a video like that by accident. Like, it's like, because if you're on camera, we all know it. It's like
you need to be overexcited on camera.
If you have a director, a good director will be like, you need to give me 130% of that
some
smile,
sugar, and
get
them a little hyped up.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing is like, that's what I mean by that kind of the positioning and the messaging is like, I can understand that they don't want to talk to the tech media first. Fine. Talk to the Wall Street Journal and to like the lifestyle people. That's cool. But at the same time, I feel like that video was really, really didn't make it it didn't make it appealing to the average person. I know it's not for the average person, but I feel like they have a potentially better.
You have to be an incredible techie person to actually want to have something like this.
But but my point is they're not targeting that.
Well, like, not the incredible techie person from our standpoint.
They're targeting Silicon Valley elite. They're friends.
Maybe.
Well, but look, who else is going to buy the thing? They're targeting a segment that has the money to buy it. Like, executives.
They're targeting the 1%. Like, like you have to have a lot of money just to drop on this because you still need a phone.
They should target the LA crowd. The movie industry people.
Hollywood.
From tech elite to Hollywood elite.
Yeah.
I don't know, Christian. Are you mad about it, or you're happy about it, or you're just?
I'm indifferent. I'd be excited to try it out.
You're so jaded that you're just like, I don't care.
No, it's not that I don't care. It's just until I can check it out for myself.
I think I'm really looking forward to your review, and it's great because you don't have any strings attached.
No.
You're going to be able to review this.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, not that you usually do, but my point is, like, you really don't have to do that. Like, you can jump into it from a techie perspective.
That's true.
You know,
What's the refund policy though?
That's a good question. Yeah, it's California, so 30 days, right? Probably.
well, that's gone.
Oh, it is?
We lost
That's
that.
done?
That's done.
Wow. Have a big...
So 0 refund policy.
Sorry. No, but I think, like, to go back to the jaded thing, like, it's like, we were having a discussion on the Humane launch day, a few of us, and I found it remarkable that so many people were like, "Not going to buy it, not going to cover it. This is a POS, like whatever. I can't wait to watch it fail."
That's me.
And I'm like, guys, it's a much more interesting story. Like, sure, like, will you provide more value to a reader or a viewer by doing Moto G Stylus 18 review? Sure, whatever. But this is a new category, a new experiment, and even if they fail, it's a really interesting story. So
100%.
why are we so just
100%.
like, no, like nobody's fucking happy?
I think
Sorry.
you have to moonlight as a Riker from time to time to really get this product.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Riker did lose his combat on Rice at that one time, remember, in the game?
Oh, that's right.
I think from my perspective of being jaded in that situation, in that conversation, is I don't want to spend my personal money on something that I know I would never use.
Yeah.
And yes, from a business standpoint, I could probably make my money back
You
with
could definitely make that money.
but like it's a product category that as a category itself, I'm personally not super excited about. And so why would I spend my money on it to do some work that I'm not super excited about doing the work?
You're not in that niche.
Yeah, I'm not in that
You
niche.
can recoup your money with one vacuum cleaner. Come on.
I would rather do a vacuum. Like, I would rather do a review of vacuum cleaner because for me, that has more personal, tangible use.
All right,
in real life.
I'm leaving.
Yeah, you can walk out the door, Fisher.
I would rather do a review on a vacuum cleaner.
I would.
Get out of here.
Quote of the day right there.
Holy
Quote of the
shit.
day.
We have 3 robot vacuum cleaners on 3 different
the
floors of
title
our
of the
house that
podcast.
run every
I'd
single
rather
day.
do a
They
vacuum
mop my floors. They
Listen
do
up, vacuum
real
sponsors.
things for my life.
Oh my God.
We're going to get all the vacuum cleaner people now.
You should get a robot vacuum, Fisher.
I have
No, I want to get that.
You should
I
get a
will
second.
never review
Speaking of which, speaking of Silicon Valley Elite, I want to get that $1,500 one. Have you heard of that one? The one that instead of using LiDAR, actually uses a vision system like Tesla does
Wait.
to actually.
Actually shifted to robotic vacuums.
Yes,
Still talking about
yes.
the
No,
dollar.
we're going to go back.
Okay.
But I'm just saying,
You want to
like,
go with me?
if we're going to talk about vacuums, I'm actually intrigued by that one because it can identify poop.
No.
Well, we've been having
Do you
those
have a lot
for
of
a couple
people
years. You talking Roborock? Because that's been around for
That's the one.
2 years.
It's
2
2
years.
years.
I have
I've reviewed a
have
couple
2
of
of them. yeah.
Roborocks. They're pretty good.
It's a Silicon Valley startup or something. It's not like a mainstream Chinese thing.
No, it's a Chinese.
Roborock?
Yeah, they're Chinese.
Yeah.
100%.
It's not Roborock. It's another one.
Oh, okay.
No. Well, Roborock's been doing that poop
Poop
identification for 2 years. Yeah.
That's the second name of the title of the podcast. Poop identification. All right, so
Moving on.
no, but-
Fisher's almost out of
Okay,
this.
so, no, you watched the video. So, like, what did they? What are the use cases they showed us? Let's go through that real quick.
That's
some interesting
We do have
ones.
to hit that one, yeah. An interesting one. One of the ones that worked was that you can control what music you're listening to with palm gestures. You can see an inbound text message on your palm with the laser projector, or it can be read to you, and you can reply to it, and you can have the onboard AI make you sound different ways. I have opinions on that. I don't like that, but those are the kind of pragmatic things. The 2 most famous faux pas in this video are direct, confirmations of why AI is not ready for this job yet. Because you're supposed to be able to hold up a handful of food to the thing, to show the camera, and be like,
How many pistachios?
yeah, how much protein is in this? To track
It was
your protein
almonds,
goal.
wasn't it?
A handful of almonds. The device said
And
something
he
like, there are
got it
15
wrong.
grams of protein in
It was
this, which
totally
is like a 300% inflation of the actual thing. But of course, since it's AI, it's saying that confidently. You're like, okay, great. And then what was the other thing? It was,
It was a piece of news.
how do I best view the next solar eclipse? Where
Well,
should I
that's what
be
it
next
was.
year?
And
it's
it
like,
totally gave the
New
wrong
Zealand and
location.
Australia will have the best viewing. And it's like, no, actually, that's a North American eclipse.
It's actually Cleveland, Ohio. You can have the full eclipse. You should come visit me on
Hey.
Eclipse Day. Yeah.
But are you going to live
this
stream
was-
it?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, great.
The kids have the day off of school because of the solar eclipse.
www.nickgrademoonstream.com.
It's the Fandroid, astrofandroid.net.
Astrofandroid.
I
I
can
can register
You should
that.
register that. Too late.
But I mean, it's kind of wild that the video made it to production without that being fact checked. But I think it
Oh,
speaks to
100%.
I'm willing to give him a pass on that because that's a mistake I would have made. Because when a computer tells you something, you're used to like a Google result. You're used to something that's actually fact checked and like good. But
See,
AI
a
will
couple
just,
options.
as many have said, will confidently lie to you because it's hallucinating or because it sucks.
See, my gut feeling about that video was that they walked in the office that morning, the morning they made the announcement. They're like, we need to make a video, guys. Let's set up. And then they made the video because that's exactly what it feels like. And then because I mean, with modern equipment nowadays, like, I don't think it doesn't look to me like they used any lighting. They just had normal.
No, they had lighting and everything. It was a good production.
It looked fine.
It didn't look like they had rehearsed.
That's what I'm saying.
They didn't rehearse. That's
I don't know. I mean, the video is beside the point. The thing is, like, the device will, in its current state, apparently, just tell you wrong stuff.
Yeah.
And that's where we are with AI right now. So is it too
And then
early?
we have to worry about all the privacy and security issues. Shannon, what would be your first concern if you were like kind of like extrapolate on what you know so far, the little you know
Well,
so
you
far?
mentioned that it has to be connected.
Okay.
So is that like a proprietary connection? Like,
It's-
So
what's
it's
it going?
it's like an MVNO through T-Mobile.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's a concern that it's connected all the time because I'm wondering if somebody could remotely unlock it without you gesturing to it, or if there's ways that somebody could connect to it and steal your photos, which apparently they collect all of. So there's data collection concerns that I have, and there's encryption concerns because I haven't seen anything about how they do any of that.
Right.
Yeah. So for the photo collection thing, the reason why they do that is because there's no connection to your smartphone. So every photo you take, the way you access it is through your web browser in the cloud. You have every photo and video.
So how's it being stored?
Yeah. So that's very good security
Is it
questions.
end to end encrypted? Like,
Who knows?
Yeah,
yeah,
Who knows?
we don't
Yeah.
know.
Gonna need details on all that. For
Yeah,
sure.
I wouldn't even purchase one to test or review and connect to my home network until I understand what their protocols are.
Yeah.
And if they haven't posted any of that stuff publicly, and if there's no like third-party audits, if there's no vulnerability reports, then I have concerns. And those are all things that are super valid, and I think every consumer should be concerned about because that's your data, that's your personal
Yes,
data. Those
On
are your
the
kids'
plus
pictures,
side,
like,
it does
all
not
that
connect
stuff.
to Bluetooth or Wi-Fi in your home that you know of. It is a Snapdragon
That you
chipset.
know of.
It's a Snapdragon chipset, so we could have a Wi-Fi chip and a Bluetooth chip.
It has Wi-Fi. It
Oh,
definitely has
they
Wi-Fi.
talked about it?
Yeah, it has
Okay,
Wi-Fi. And it
so
has
then-
Bluetooth because you can use earbuds with it.
Oh, right. So then you have to worry about it. Because who knows, like somebody could hack into it and connect to your home network from the 5G connector.
There is a little Bluetooth dongle that was made by hackers that can man in the middle Bluetooth.
Was
So,
that the
like,
flipper? No,
No,
that's the
it's a different
RF.
one.
That's RF, right?
Yeah, like
Flipper.
Ubertooth one. And then there's, of course, the Wi-Fi Pineapple, which disclaimer I work on. So like,
you?
these are things.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fascinating.
it's a
I
Hack
didn't-
5 thing.
Oh, yeah, of course it is.
Duh.
Oh, stupid.
Where you been all my life?
Oh man, I'm not good at keeping up with YouTube. No, but the flipper, by the way, can we
Yeah, the flipper.
do it? I want to do an episode on that because I've never touched
You
one,
wanna
but it
talk
seems
about
like
it
a
for 5
wild
minutes?
thing. I don't know if we have
Tangent
time.
number one.
No, because I want to.
Wait,
learn
the
about
tangent
it
one was
properly.
vacuum.
I
Tangent
haven't
number
touched one
two.
either.
You haven't touched one either, really?
Like I've touched other
We should
people's
probably buy
flippers,
one
which
before
sounds kind of sounds
Headline
so
number
valid,
3.
Like, sounds a little weird, but yes, I have touched other people's flippers.
We should probably buy one before they get banned.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably.
I'm tempted to just pay the $120. It's not that much.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's inexpensive.
And also,
enough
I can-
that
How are they
everyone
going to
has
ban
one.
it?
I mean, I'm looking forward to unlocking my Tesla without having my key. It's great.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's a thing.
Indeed.
No, it's just the freaking charging flap you can unlock because it's a dumb non-authenticated RFID where like you push
Yeah.
the button on the charging
Is it a rolling code?
wand and it opens the door for you at a supercharger. So you
Oh,
don't have to like
okay.
manually go in the app and unlock the car or anything.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
just go like click and then
That is pretty cool.
so it would like if there were 3 Teslas very close by, they'd probably all move because I don't think it's any kind of like there's no special.
It's super low power.
Yeah, and
just to
that's
make
also
sure.
why I think
Yeah.
the flipper can do it because it's like there's no authentication of any kind. Anyway, so any other thoughts on Humane?
I'm interested to see where it goes.
Just gonna say this is the
like-
part of the podcast where somebody says it'll be interesting to see what happens.
But like
I wish that
I do want to see Michael's review on it because
I can't wait.
Thank you.
I trust your
Then I can't wait
reviews.
till you bring
You
it
always
down.
have an interesting take, but you also make sure to call them out when they miss the mark.
Yeah.
And
But you do it respectfully.
Thank you.
We've all gathered here to compliment Michael.
Yeah, I know. I just
Felt you needed a bit of a pep talk.
So stay tuned for Mr. Fisher's review.
But I am super eager, and I think one of the things we do have to say is like you come into any review with your own biases, right? With your own preconceptions, your own, and mine. It is genuinely the thing. Like it sounds like a joke, but I've wanted a comm badge. I wanted a proper Star Trek comm badge for all my life, and we got the dinky Bluetooth one that wasn't very good. Yep. And now we are getting one that's like a proper piece of the future. Not a future that we'll probably inhabit.
3D print the actual comm badge and put it
on top of it.
I've got a bunch of stickers ready for it already. Yeah. Once they miniaturize it a little more.
Awesome. Did you get a black one so it kind of fades into your clothing?
Yeah, the black one with the chrome trim.
Nice.
The Equinox version.
That's the closest you can get to a tricorder. Chrome and black.
Try comm badge.
Oh, excuse me, try comm
Because
badge.
Discovery combined them.
Oh, that's right.
And it even projects. Anyway. That's all. We'll talk about that when we
Next on the podcast.
Nerding out.
Yeah.
Star Trek.
My producer is very amused right now. Off screen, by the way. For those of you watching on Patreon, we do a video version of the podcast. So if you want to help me out, patreon.com/GNKGRL. And you get it before the audio version, before everyone else.
Lucky.
Anyway, so the next thing I want to talk about is kind of like Apple/nothing/iMessage/RCS. There's been multiple news coming in through this week, and it's been a bit of a fiasco. And I don't mean that specifically as saying like somebody screwed up. I'm just saying like it just seems to be like this like I don't know. It's just a mess. Mm-hmm. What is everybody's take on it?
The first news was Nothing announcing a version of their chat app that will support iMessage.
Okay, and how are they doing that?
Well, they're using a service called Sunbird, which has been previously announced and been in alpha/beta for a while.
And there's another one that people have been using before too, right?
Beeper.
Yeah.
Right, so it's similar to Beeper.
But Sunbird is a bit different to Beeper in that it communicates with iMessage through its servers instead of you having to set up your own server.
Okay, that's kind of scary.
Yes. It is.
So they have Mac Minis in the sky.
They have Mac Minis in the sky.
I like to say the sky because it's much better. They have Mac Minis in the sky. You purportedly log in with your own Apple ID, hopefully in a secure way with their Mac Minis, and it creates an instance of iMessage running on that Mac Mini.
Yes.
And then, boom, magic.
Yeah.
You have an iMessage relay.
So I've had access to Sunbird for a while.
Pixel when you have glasses on.
Sorry, because I'm doing a Pixel ecosystem video. Please continue.
So
I've had access to Sunbird for a while. I regret logging into Sunbird.
Oh boy!
However, I haven't been hacked yet.
Okay.
I do not recommend accessing Sunbird with your main Apple account. Maybe set up a new one or something. But it works well. But a lot of security implications.
So I asked point blank. Jane, who's awesome, a PR lady at Nothing, I said, hey, like, how secure is this? Because I want to try it out. I have a Nothing phone too. I've got an Apple ID. She goes, oh, we've checked, we made this good. We're confident. You can go ahead. Just use. All you need is download the APK later this week from the Play Store. It only works on Nothing phone. Somebody has actually already proven that, and you can then use your Apple ID, and you'll be able to any messages coming to your iMessage will come into your.
Yeah.
And then we find out today, right?
Yeah.
Today,
Since you're doing the history, continue.
Well, I haven't read up on all the news, but it seems like Sunbird's backend is another service called Blue Bubbles that is apparently not so secure. Not end-to-end
You're
encrypted.
using HTTPS to transfer the login ID.
Oh no.
HTTP.
Yeah.
They're using HTTP.
Not HTTPS. HTTP.
HTTP.
Yeah, not S, not in.
Do they
No,
know
yeah.
it's 2023?
I'm
assuming they don't.
It's 2003.
Coincidentally, today was also the day I logged out of my Sunbird instance from
In unrelated.
Yeah, so someone did some digging in the code in the back end to see where the messages were floating through, and they came across the app was HTTP and whatever the app that they were pushing the protocols through. And so it's not even secure. Like everything's just out and open in the web. So
wait, everything is transmitted with HTTP or just the Apple
the
ID?
authentication.
The authentication.
Oh.
Like
the
your
password
password
and
and login.
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh.
And
that's
so
awesome.
So you should dig into this a little bit more.
I'm
because I'm
sure
sure
you're
you're
Hold on,
very
I'm gonna buy a
excited
flipper.
about
Now
it.
that I've broadcasted that I've been using Sunbird, I'm going to go ahead and change my password before this
Yeah, you
podcast
should.
goes
Yeah,
live.
right?
We're gonna fire up a pineapple
So what's your login ID again?
in the hotel lobby, and we're gonna have a good time.
With all the tech people.
Yeah, so like
Oh, yeah.
they're pushing this. We can do end-to-end encryption and blah blah blah. But I'm like, your login information is
So,
not.
To be
encrypted.
fair, I haven't been able to. I haven't had
mean, it's
time to
hashed
reach
still,
out
but
to
it's-
Jane and to
reverse
the
hash it,
team.
yeah.
I haven't had a chance to reach out to nothing to find out. This is what we're getting is reported by people. Can you tell? Can you give us a comment?
Yeah, I mean, we just
Have we
saw
seen
this
a comment?
information within the last couple
Yeah,
hours.
exactly.
Like,
So by the
Lot we
time-
don't know about that.
like
one.
during
Yeah.
the keynote this morning, that like it was in our chat.
We will update you
Yikes.
next week because you're gonna get this on Sunday. And I would suggest check out the news because there'll probably be something about it.
I mean, there's probably a couple articles up already about.
So hopefully by now, when you listen to this on Sunday, hold off to doing this if you have nothing from to.
But maybe the push to use iMessage everywhere won't be as important soon, given
Yeah.
the fact
Yeah,
that we
but
have other messaging news.
Exactly. So what's the other messages? You giving us the timeline here?
Happy to. Apple announced that it will be using RCS sometime in 2024. So
Okay. So the question is, though, what level of RCS is the base implementation?
Base
or are we
implement-
getting
it's the standard.
encryption that Google's doing?
it's standards-based implementation of RCS. Apple says that it is
Shannon's
reportedly
fine.
working on helping change the standard to support end-to-end
Okay.
encryption. But I mean,
So what's your take? Should Apple, like in an ideal world, should Apple use the Google encryption thing right now and just call it a day? Okay.
Yes, they should. I mean, Google has basically given it to them. They were just like, "Hey guys, like we have this thing and it's open, so
Or
like,
should-
anybody can use it."
Google just give everything back to the standard
Yes, that would
and
be
make
great.
Google's version the standard, and then they can just.
But I
drop
think the problem
standard.
is the reason why it's not in the standard is because the standard, as all standards, especially 3GSM, which is heavily
Yeah, the
Europe-based,
standard's so
they're
basic.
slow as F.
Yeah.
To approve
they
them.
don't
No,
give
I know.
a
I know.
about it
I know, but like
time-wise.
then we're gonna have these two competing versions of RCS that should be compatible.
I don't think they'll compete for long.
No, but like they should be fully compatible, but they won't be fully compatible, and then we're still
They'll be
gonna have
compatible. It's just the back end stuff.
the back
that-
end. Yeah, but
Yeah, we would just be,
which we care about. and
Which
it
we
should,
care about.
It should.
yeah.
You know,
From a security standpoint, like you're
Yeah.
gonna have different protocols trying to speak to each other, and like we're encrypted.
Well, so
how do
maybe
we
it'll
make
be
a handshake?
like-
maybe
They're
blue
gonna be
bubble
like
versus green bubbles,
somewhat
maybe
equal
encrypted
protocols,
Yeah.
hopefully. But Apple is not layering on their own implementation of
Yeah.
RCS. They're just using the base one, which
Right.
means, in the way that I'm understanding it, if you're on Android and your friends are on iPhone, you're still not going to get that encryption back and forth
Correct.
between each other.
But you're going to get the new features.
But you
Better
will get
videos, better
features.
photos.
Yeah,
You're going to
you'll
get
get
the
better-
responses.
I'm
You'll
optimistic
get
that
the
the standard will
usability.
change.
So
change
so
I hope so
relatively.
too.
who
I really
thinks even though they're doing this, we will still have blue bubbles?
Well, I was
and
just gonna
green
ask.
bubbles?
There's zero chance that's going to change.
Exactly.
They're not. They'll change the
Shannon.
messaging from encryption
I
versus
don't care.
unencryption. It'll just be like how you know you're using iMessage instead of not.
Honestly, like if I have friends that are going to judge me based on the color of my bubble,
Screw
then I
them.
don't want them to be my
Yeah.
friends.
Good.
Like
I
those are
love
not the
that
kind of
answer.
friends I want in my life.
Big agree. Yeah.
The problem is, it's all those iPhone users that are like, "You're an Android
like-
user. We can't be
No, they're
friends."
literally parents now shaming other parents because
Oh, all the
That's
time.
like
horrible.
I've read a story on that. Like I'm like,
school group chats for like
was
parents.
it you who was telling me this?
No, it wasn't me.
Well,
but
you
like,
know what? If
but
they
they're
do
like,
that, I'll send them a
why is
picture of all my
somebody?
phones.
Why did our group chat change the bubbles and whatever? And I don't understand it because I'm been on Android forever, right?
yeah.
But yeah, there are people who are like school parent group chats and like, why is there an Android user in here? You're ruining our group chat. I'm like, we're just trying to communicate
Oh my
about
God,
our
that's
children's
so
sports,
mean.
when
So-
are we picking people up? And they're fighting about why is there green bubbles in this chat?
That is terrible.
And they're like 35, 40-year-old people. Like, it's not they're like teenagers or anything. These are adults who have real
Michael has
jobs
some
and-
thoughts.
I'm not going to go into it. I long ago adopted the European model of, hey, I have a chat app that I like. It's called Telegram. Pick a
Yeah.
damn app.
You know how
Stop
I do it? You know how I do it right now? Because I use the messages app from
Yeah.
Google, which
I
I
use Google
love
Messages.
because most of my friends are on Android
Same.
and then it's encrypted and everything RCS. But because my spouse is on iPhone partially, and so I end up with I end up with SMSing essentially, right? And you know what? I turn off my iMessage on my iPhone on purpose.
Yeah, I haven't
So
used
that
it.
if I use my iPhone to text someone, they get a green bubble and screw you. I don't even want to use it. I've denied Apple iMessage. I have boycotted iMessage from the day it came out. At the time, initially, it wasn't because of any of this compatibility stuff. It was simply because like the way they were doing it was the worst implementation of the idea of a IP chats based system because it's so tied to the phone number that the fact that you have to disconnect from their servers to go use an Android phone and I swap SIMs all the time. My solution was turn off iMessage, never deal with it. Yeah. And now with RCS, I have the reverse problem, but it's easy. You can send a text from a Google phone with even if you don't have the old phone with you, and tell it to disable RCS on that phone number, and it will do remotely.
Oh wow!
Like there's some authentication involved, but it works. Yeah. I've done it. It's great.
Oh, that's so cool.
So if you switch to an iPhone and you have RCS enabled right now on an Android phone, there's a possibility that some issues might happen if you switch to iMessage. So you can turn off RCS on that phone you just left, even if the phone is being lost or stolen. Yeah. And then go.
Yeah. So like the green bubbles thing is still going to be a thing.
But
hopefully a bit less of a thing.
Yeah, but you'll finally get the notifications that people are typing. You're finally going to get high resolution images, high resolution videos. I think the one thing that's still going to be this disconnect is iPhone users just have FaceTime built in.
Yeah.
Right. And they're like, oh, let me just jump on a video call with you. And as much as I would love that to not be an issue, it is, because on Android, we really don't have it unless we have a third-party service.
Heaven forbid we miss out on the chance to convert a convenient text conversation to an annoying phone call.
But like,
get effed.
Case in point, I have 2 children this week that are home alone. And usually when I'm traveling, I call my wife and we do a video call, say goodnight to the girls and everything. And we got here the first night, we're like, oh, we should do a video chat. Oh, they don't have a Telegram account. I couldn't video chat my children because we haven't installed Telegram on their devices. They're not using Telegram because we do RCS or whatever. But like, it was something like, we haven't done it, and it's not built into the core platform like it is on iOS.
It's a major problem. It is. It's an added speed bump.
It's an added speed bump.
And that's all you need for people to be like, oh, that's kind of annoying. I wish I had
for us, I'm like, choose what I have 7 apps that I can do video calls on. My children don't have 7 apps that they can do video calls on. Like it's just an extra thing, but
No, but I'm shaking my head because this is a problem. And I'm just like, wow, like how annoying is it for, like right now, the fact that when I text, Theo a photo on their iPhone from my Android, it's crap image quality.
Yeah.
And so I actually text them on their Android phone because we both have messages by Google and it's perfect then. Yeah. And they can actually download the photo and use it for something.
I'm curious how group messaging will work for
me too.
Because that is a big pain point.
Yeah. It should not be an issue.
Hopefully.
What I'm hoping, and I think this is not going to happen because I think Apple wants to spite people, Android users, not people, just Android users. I think that my hope was that blue bubble would be encrypted, green bubbles would be non-encrypted.
I don't think that will
happen. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, but because setting aside the color of the bubbles,
if they use RCS encrypted eventually, which whether they use the standard or Google's solution, like say 2 years from now, that maybe all the bubbles will turn blue. Who knows?
No, the bubble will never turn blue. Because like it's going to be this is an iPhone user, this is a non-iPhone user. They're still going to have that distinction. Like you're talking to somebody in the group versus talking to somebody outside the group. They still want to make sure.
It drives me nuts. Such a North American thing.
Oh, 100%, because the rest of the world just uses WhatsApp.
You're angry now.
I'm resigned and sad. I'm lamenting
sad.
The future of society.
I want to point out that 10 years ago I did a podcast with probably some of you where we bitched about this whole messaging thing on Android already.
Yep.
Because you know what? Google didn't put in the work.
No, that's exactly right. I think we have to, it's very easy to get annoyed at Apple for this. And by the way, Apple did, in my opinion, misuse or kind of co-opt a standard.
100%.
I would have I can't support that. However, they did deliver a much improved messaging solution to their customers. So everyone's happy, and that's why it's annoying. Google has had umpteen opportunities to solve this problem,
And umpteen
they
apps to do
screwed it up so many times, and to your point, either never put in the work or never had the will to see the work completed. And guarantee you, 10 years ago on that same podcast, we were talking about fragmentation in Android, and we thought the thing that was going to kill like Android was that like they didn't get software updates fast enough. Yeah. Nobody saw this like perfect storm coming, where it's like, yeah,
7
Apple's just
years.
going to keep improving things, and Google's just going to keep like fumbling the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Running to regulators to,
We were also,
make them fix it.
if you told me 10 years ago we were going to get 7 years of software updates or whatever because California is mandating it for the right to repair bill, I mean, like, wow, right?
Yeah,
Like, I don't know, is it 7 or 5,
awesome,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Very excited about that.
so let's move on to the last thing. I know Michael's just going to get up and leave right now.
Yeah, we're going to talk about a phone that's never going to come here.
Can we talk about a phone that's a Chinese phone, please? Look, the reality is this.
Miriam's like,
Okay,
please,
can I just preface this real quick? Okay, we're at MediaTek Summit. This is a MediaTek Dimensity 9300 equipped phone. This is the chip they just launched a week ago, covered on last podcast, and I just have the first 15 minutes of this show are all about that chip with Finbar Moynihan of MediaTek. It's really awesome. Listen, we didn't get into the technical details of the chip, but more like, where are the trends of all these chips becoming AI centric? Because basically even the low end chips now are going to have AI components that are super powerful.
Yes.
Right. And so we're like the 9300 is also the first chip that has like all big cores. And I think that's the direction we're going with, Snapdragon X Elite, with M chips, like the latest ones from Apple, they're all big cores, right? Yeah. So this phone, the Vivo X100 and X100 Pro. We don't have a Pro Plus yet, and if there is, it'll probably be Snapdragon, but those two are MediaTek Dimensity 9300. And the X series to me is important because it's the flagship from Vivo, but it's always been, since the X50 series, a really, really good camera phone. Like, their camera systems on that are, like, for a while there, like, I feel like they were in the top 5 camera systems on any phone.
And they're using like a...
They have Zeiss. Zeiss is a partnership. Yeah. So I've got some quick specs here, so we can kind of like, discuss, debate, whatever. I got to find these specs now, of course.
Start with the hinge.
There's no hinge.
Zero hinges. Fisher's honor.
You're out. Okay. So really quickly,
Invisible hinge.
6.7-inch display, LTPO, 120 hertz, of course. It's 1260, so it's a 1.5K display. Android 14. Oh, Fun Touch. Oh boy. Why do they
Fun Touch
they
OS?
still call it Fun Touch? Their OS is called Fun
I'm
Touch.
gonna leave that alone.
Yeah.
Okay, Dimensity 9300. We've got 256 gigs of storage up to 1 terabyte, 12 gigs of RAM up to 16. Cameras. 12 megapixel f1.8 main with OIS and laser autofocus. We don't know the sensor. 50 megapixel f/2.5 periscope telephoto, 4.3 times optical OIS, and so 23 millimeters for the main, 100 millimeter, which is roughly 4.3 times for the tele, and then another 50 megapixel ultra wide. Ooh, an ultra wide at f/2.0. That's kind of cool. 119 degree field of view, 15 millimeter autofocus. Probably does macro. And we've put Michael to sleep.
No, that's not.
Front camera is 32 megapixel. We've got a battery that's 5260 with 100 watt wired and 50 watt wireless. That sounds pretty flagshipy to me.
Yeah, I mean, they've always delivered with their high-end devices. The problem is we never see them in the US. They really don't have a huge presence in Europe either.
They even don't see to the reviewers as much as they should.
Correct.
I never got the X90. I've gotten all the previous ones.
But they have big, massive market share in China. Mm-hmm. The problem is there's just a disconnect with this phone and Western markets, and so it's hard to judge it from that standpoint because the operating system is built for the Chinese market.
Yeah.
Just like those of us who got the Oppo Find X6 Pro, an amazing phone built for China. And you can tell when you just turn the phone on.
You have to actually install Google stuff separately.
To Michael's point, where's the hinge? If this had a hinge, it would be a much more interesting device just because as I said, I just gave the OnePlus Open a rave review from my perspective, and this is the same family BBK group. And from the design aspect, it's got the massive camera module, circular camera module on the back. This could make a good foldable device with the same performance or even better performance with the new Dimensity chipset. But yeah, we're not going to be seeing it in the Western markets. And so who knows?
Did you played with the Vivo folding phone, the most recent one?
Not the most recent one because it was a step back. It was.
Really?
Yeah,
It was a lower end.
It wasn't, but in my opinion, it had just fewer features worth talking about.
Watch Nick fly climb.
Nick's like,
Nick,
I'm
do you want
outta
to just
here now.
quickly tell people about your stuff real quick?
Yeah, sorry, I'm running out. I have another meeting, but
I gotta go.
if you want to follow me, I'm on fandroid.com or youtube.com/fandroid or all the other places on social media as well.
With a PH.
PH.
Yeah.
PH.
PH Android.
Feel free to climb on the bed.
I will climb over the bed. It's been a pleasure. Thank you guys for having me.
Likewise, bud.
Thanks. So, Michael, what about that Vivo?
The foldable?
Yeah.
No, I didn't import it because to your point, they don't seed a lot of samples to North American reviewers for obvious reasons.
Right.
I had to chase down the first Vivo X Flip, which was probably the best foldable of 2021, at least for a few months.
So it came out in 21. They
Or-
didn't do anything in 22?
Or 22. I probably got a year wrong, and it was great. But then I saw Ben Sinn's coverage of the new one, and I
He
was
was
like,
a little disappointed, right?
it's kinda- and I looked at the specs, and I was like, this is the problem because even in foldables, we're getting to a point where it's like, okay, we are all familiar with the experience that a foldable brings. It is very different, much more exciting than a slab. But if you're looking generation to generation with the same manufacturer, look at Fold 4 to Fold 5 on the Samsung front. It's like, I still haven't figured out a way to tell that story because it's not interesting because it's just an iteration on what came before.
Yeah.
So, Samsung's already on my list of annoyances in general. And then on top of that, I make a phone that's evolutionary. I give it good marks in my review on Hot Hardware because I'm like,
because
it's genuinely a good phone.
It's
you
a very-
cannot say it's a bad phone.
very mature, a very complete,
Very
thought,
solid.
but very difficult to
And
tell
if you're a
the story.
Samsung user, it's fantastic. Anyway.
But also, they held the mic for too long. They sat there. They were like, you know what? We got something that works, and we're not getting a lot of pressure. So now that we're in a world where Pixel Fold and OnePlus Open exist in North America, now I think Samsung's going to feel the pressure to actually do something.
This thing and this thing, I love them both. Shannon, folding phones. What's your take?
I love folding phones.
Yay!
Yeah, I do. I have a few folding phones.
Which
now.
one do you use?
The
When you
Pixel
use one?
Fold is my number one folding
Right.
phone. I love it. Just
Good
like you
call.
do. It's just so good. I love that the front display on it is wide enough that I can actually do things on it.
I like the
love that I
passport
can be
form factor,
productive
yeah.
on it. Yeah, it feels like I'm holding a passport. Exactly.
Yes.
Like it's the same size as my wallet, and I can still fit it into like girly pants, and it covers up most of the phone, so it's not too tall. I love that about this. I can put it in my back pocket, and it's comfortable to hold, and it's kind of lightweight. It's still heavier than like most of my phones.
It's pretty heavy to me, but I'm
it's-
not a fully phone person. So
It's not super heavy.
It's not bad.
Like, it's not bad. for
Here,
a
this is a
foldable.
OnePlus Open in a case comparatively.
Yeah, the OnePlus Open.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
That was a lot
Same
lighter.
thickness, but yeah.
OnePlus
No,
Open changed
The
my
lenses, I love that they didn't sacrifice a lot of quality when
Yeah,
it came to the
it's
lenses
true.
when they
It's
introduced it. And you see like Samsung coming out with phones that have like potatoes in the foldables. And I just can't do potatoes in lenses. Like they should be in stews, not
Especially
in phones.
because you use an S23 Ultra, and that's one of the best camera phones. Christian, thoughts on Vivo and general foldy phones?
General foldy phones. I also reviewed the Open and the Pixel Fold, and
which
the
one's your
Open is
favorite?
Open, hands down for me right now. I think for me, it's the form factor that's
I
perfect.
need
For
to
other
try
people,
that.
the Pixel Fold.
Could we
form
all
factor is
agree
maybe
that this
better.
is the best OnePlus phone
Yes,
ever?
no question.
Yeah, I mean, definitely most interesting.
And it's not just that they made it lighter and completed the thought on the hardware thing, but they introduced new ways of using the software.
The software is great.
I mean, I was waiting in line for a ferry the other day and doing 2 social media posts at the same time while watching a video, and I had everything running at the same time on that canvas.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
Yeah.
It was
I
lovely.
love that.
Sorry, I didn't mean
No,
to cut you
No,
off there,
I mean,
but I
it's
agree
not-
with you.
yeah.
It's a wonderful product.
Let's see if they can continue to hold that thought leadership position next year. And most importantly, I feel like, hopefully I can add wireless charging to make it a complete package somehow.
Yep.
Even if you have to put it on a sideways charger, like in the, I don't care. Like it'd be fine to me if I could just,
Makes
anyway,
it Qi 2.
We'll see how it
She
goes.
too.
That'll be easy.
There you go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maxing. Bunk.
All right. Well, let's wrap up. Michael, you want to tell people where they can find you on the internet and
Please,
stuff?
yeah, the Mr. Mobile for YouTube stuff, TheMRMBILE, and Captain Two Phones on Threads. I was about to say Twitter, but I mean,
The
they just had
socials.
another bad day.
On the
today.
socials.
let's
Oh,
not
man.
talk about
Let's
them.
not. Captain Two Phones on Threads.
Shannon?
Apple suspended their advertising today because
Yes.
Musk.
And Musk
retweeted
made
somebody,
something very
not
anti-Semitic.
interested in human rights,
Yes.
that kind of stuff. Yeah,
Speaking of potatoes, he's a potato.
he's a potato.
He's the equivalent of a potato camera.
Yeah.
There you go. So, social.
No comment.
Yeah, fair enough.
You're social.
Yeah, I'm Snubs, but I promise I won't snub you on Instagram and other places on the internet, and on YouTube. I'm Shannon Morse, spelled just like my name is spelled, like Morse code. So, tech reviews, security, and privacy. That's my main thing.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the YouTube channel is awesome, so check it out.
Thank you.
I love it. Okay, Christian, where are you at?
I'm just around. You can see me. I'm freelance. I write about cars for Digital Trends. I write about phones for BGR. I write about all sorts of stuff for all sorts of people. And you can find me on social, Christian DeLuca.
Here's the thing you guys
Just
should
copy
know.
the name from the notes of this podcast. Don't try to spell it.
Here's the thing you need to know about Christian. Christian and I share essentially, because we get them one after the other in some random order, the review cars, because we're both based in the Bay Area.
Oh, that's funny.
So we look at each other's Instagram. It's like 1 week it's me, next week it's same car, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm like, you left your ice cream in here.
That has never happened.
No, it's never
just to be
happened.
clear.
I've left chocolate in a Lucid Air once.
Did you?
Yeah. And
I wish
and
I
it was
found it.
sad.
Melt?
I don't know if they found it. I
They're
told them
pretty good
about
at cleaning it.
They never got back. No, like a completely unused, unopened chocolate bar that we went and bought in Petaluma, and then we forgot in there. Theo was so sad. So sad. But the point I'm making is that it's you, me, and Roberto Baldwin, who writes for Engadget and others, that are in the Bay Area sharing the cars. So
That's cool.
check out Christian's content. You know where to find me on the internet, folks. I'm at Tankgirl, TNKGRL, like the comic book character Tankgirl. Drop all the vowels. That's my handle on all the things, the Evil X and Threads. I'm really doing more and more Threads. It's really good.
It's good. They're
Yeah,
conversations
great.
there.
Insta, of course. Blue Sky, maybe. I don't know. People are there. I'm there, but it's not really taken off. And then, of course, the podcast is at mobiletechpodcast.com. We're on all the big platforms, so please subscribe and tell your friends. And, also there's a channel for YouTube. Have you heard of this YouTube thing? I don't know. YouTube.com/mobiletechpodcast. You know how YouTube works. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, click the bell, comment about the podcast, chat with me there. And if you want kind of a special treat and you want to help me out, there's a Patreon, as I mentioned, halfway through. Patreon.com/Tankgirl. That's Patreon.com/TNKGRL. We've got a Discord channel there. We've got access to the video version. It comes out a day or two in advance with sometimes extra content and bloopers and fun stuff. And then, if you can support me, that'd be great. There's also a link in the show notes that you can click through to go to PayPal and give me a donation if you want to do that instead. And finally, I want to thank our sponsor, MediaTek. Today I'm recording in sunny Laguna Beach, where I've spent the week at the 2024 MediaTek Executive Summit. MediaTek powers nearly 2 billion connected devices a year and is a market leader in developing innovative systems on a chip, SoCs, for mobile devices, home entertainment, connectivity, and IoT products. And I want to thank everybody here for being on the show. Nick as well, he left. Thanks, Michael. Thanks.
Thanks for
Shannon,
having us.
and thanks, Christian.
Happy to be here.
Yep.
Absolutely. I love how we've been doing these group podcasts at events, and there'll be more folks, of course. So stay tuned. We'll have another show next week. Until then, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
This has been the Mobile Tech Podcast with Tank Girl, proudly presented by worldpodcasts.com. You can visit us online at mobiletechpodcast.com.